to you and your family. Look who we have on the Curvy Couch.
Tucker Carlson in person.
Holy smokes. I passed out in a bar last night and woke up here. I was dragooned.
Wait a second. That you have not passed out in a bar in 20 years.
That's true. I was not shanghaied. I came here voluntarily. Thanks for having me.
So glad you're here.
He's the only man in America who has worked out already. So, Tucker Carlson, good job.
Well, in just a few hours from right now, Donald Trump is going to head to Mexico, the country.
The GOP nominee announcing overnight he's going to meet today with the president of Mexico just a few hours before his landmark immigration speech.
This is stunning news, and the question is, does John Roberts have his passport with him? He is live in Phoenix. Hey, John, things just keep changing.
Hey, good morning to you, Brian, Ainsley, and Tucker. I always carry the passport with me, which is, in the past, it's proven to be a prudent move. You know, Donald Trump truly is the man who doesn't sleep. He was in Everett, Washington last night, overnighted in L.A. Now he's going to be heading to Mexico City. And to be a fly on the wall at that meeting at about midday today at the presidential palace, can you imagine? I mean, Enrique Peña Nieto, here's a guy who has likened Donald Trump to Hitler and Mussolini. Then there's Donald Trump, who's got this call and response going at all of his campaign rallies where he says, who's going to build the wall? And the crowd shouts back, Mexico. You know, this was an invitation that came from Pedro Peña Nieto's office last Friday. It was issued to both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump got the jump on Hillary Clinton. Her campaign says, hey, we talk to the Mexicans all the time. We don't need to go. We'll go at an appropriate time. But it's a perfect curtain raiser for Donald Trump's big, eagerly anticipated speech here in Phoenix at the convention center behind me tonight, where he'll be talking about immigration and specifically what to do about the millions upon millions of people who entered this country illegally. Here's a little bit of a curtain raiser from his campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, last night with Bill O'Reilly. Listen.
No amnesty, no legalization, no sanctuary cities. When dealing with the 11 million or so, he wants to abide the law, enforce the law, which is a novel concept in Washington. People who have committed a crime are gone. And then he wants to see what we're left with. He will address that tomorrow, and I think you will see one of the toughest speeches on illegal immigration in modern political history.
Now, a couple of big themes that Donald Trump is pursuing this week, immigration and outreach to African Americans. He's got that speech coming up Saturday at the church in Detroit. Last night, adjusting his language on the campaign trail ever so slightly after being criticized for painting a bleak picture for most, if not all, African Americans in this country. Listen to how he slightly adjusted the language last night.
Millions of African Americans in this country have succeeded greatly, but we must also talk about those who have been left behind. The millions suffering in disastrous conditions in so many of our inner cities and neighborhoods afflicted by total poverty, drugs, and horrible, horrible violence.
So adding in just at the top there are millions of African Americans who have succeeded greatly, and they should be celebrated. But let's not forget the problems of folks who are mired in the inner cities. A huge day for Donald Trump. There's only one way to put it, and we'll be here following it all. Brian, Ainsley,
unbelievable.
Thank you, John. I think it's great that he's going down there. The invitation was extended to Hillary Clinton and to Donald Trump. He's the only one that accepted that invitation. They're going down to the president's residence to meet.
Well, I mean, in the recent interview, the president said, of Mexico said, yeah, we can't afford to pay for that wall. I don't know what you're talking about. We're not going to pay for the wall.
No, he said, I'm not going to blank pay for that wall.
Yeah,
the former president.
No, yeah, the former one did. But this current one says, we don't have the money to pay for that wall. So I wonder how that conversation's going to go.
Without immigration from Mexico to the U.S., the Mexican economy would collapse, obviously. Mexico's policies are hostile to the United States because they help Mexico. I think this is very wise. This is what you do when you win. You meet with people who criticize you.
Right.
I think Trump should have done this to a bunch of people. I think he should have met with former President Bush in Dallas. I think he should have met with a lot of people he went after on the campaign trail because it sends the message that I'm the winner. I vanquished them.
Right,
now I'm meeting
I have the power.
Yes.
I'm fine to go face to face with you. If you had an enemy, it would be very nice of you to go to their door, knock on their door, and hash it out in person.
Because it conveys strength.
But that's a good point, too. I would think about this, Tucker. You and Ainsley, you have the Hillary Clinton, who feels as though she has a secure lead in the Hamptons for 3 straight days, on the heels of spending 3 days in Los Angeles, just flat out raising money, not doing anything of significance for coming out and calling essentially Donald Trump a white supremacist.
She can't stop. I would be so much happier for her and for America if she were sitting on the beach or playing, Jenga or enjoying herself, but she's relentlessly raising money in these.
For what?
That's a great question. No one's ever raised more money for a presidential campaign than she has raised.
Over $1 billion.
More money.
Where Donald Trump is meeting, is going to be in a black church Saturday, taking questions in Detroit, I believe.
And
then tonight he's got the huge meeting.
And
then he goes to Mexico first.
That's right. Well, also this morning we have learned that the FBI is now saying that there were 30 emails in that latest batch of Hillary Clinton's emails, 30 of them that were related to Benghazi. These are just discovered.
Well, it's just unbelievable. On top of that all these emails had to be retrieved by the FBI after she said her lawyers went through and said everything not work-related was there, let alone this being in the content.
No, I think you've totally missed it. I think, with all respect, I think you're wrong, because I remember vividly Hillary Clinton saying that she turned over all her emails, and I think she said it more than once. I think she did.
Did you put together a montage?
Maybe our producers did. Did they? Oh, here it is.
We turned over everything that was work-related, every single thing. Personal stuff, we did not. And all I can tell you is that I turned over every work-related email in my possession.
What we turned over were more than 30,000 emails that I assumed were already in the government system, Brett, because they were sent to state.gov addresses.
Sure, but there were some that were just recently discovered and turned over.
No, that was in the State Department, not in me.
Okay.
I've turned over everything.
My emails are so boring.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm embarrassed about that. They're so boring. And so we've already released, I don't know, 30,000 plus. So what's a few more?
Man, well, I stand corrected.
She swore in a federal court, she swore to you, the American public, that she released all of her emails. Well, guess what? We're learning this morning, and we learned that many, many mornings ago, too, because it just keeps developing that is false.
But they're still not turning them over. The State Department has them, and they are saying it's going to take a full month to vet 30 emails. And a federal judge has said, what? A month for 30 emails? No. Hurry up and do it. And they're dragging their feet.
And they're going to redact some of it. And you wonder if they're going to redact certain things that are absolutely essential to finding out what went on. Now, keep in mind, all these emails were in the FBI, in the FBI's hopper when they decided that she should not have been indicted, right? On the last, this is all part of what the FBI already put together. But what we're finding is, thanks to Judicial Watch, thanks to the FBI's work, and thanks to Citizens United, is there are things of great interest to America if you want to know what kind of president the former Secretary of State will be, because this is her judgment. This is what she decided to do. This is what she decided to turn over. She's going to blame the lawyers. But I'm sure she's just going to say, my lawyers didn't do a good job going through the work-related emails.
But the damage has been done, and that's the tragedy. I don't care who, not even related to who wins. They have shaken the faith of the average person in the honesty of basic American institutions like the FBI and the State Department. Have you ever thought the FBI was not on the level? I never have until this season. These guys politicize everything, and they make all of us cynical about our government.
Well,
and
why is it
really damaging?
Why is it, Tucker, that the State Department gets to read through all of these emails, redact information, and then release them a month later? Why do they have that power?
Because they're covering for Hillary Clinton, as they have for the last year, and they shouldn't be doing that. That's not their job.
Does it even matter what's in these emails when it's released? Because many people feel like our hands are tied. There's nothing we can do.
There's a couple of things. Number one, they're going to go through them for intelligence purposes and say this will be detrimental to the country if this gets out. I don't really look at the FBI as somebody that's letting me down. They went out there and said that probably what we were able to acquire, we find this irresponsible. We can go through the whole James Comey presentation. Yeah. He didn't go out there and say, looks good to me. Right. He went out there and rolled down everything he had a problem with. And then he sat there in front of that committee, the Oversight Committee, and answered honestly. Enough said. He basically said, I don't think there's enough there to indict, but man, I got a problem with it.
But he also said if someone else had done this, that person would be in deep trouble. The whole thing makes you feel like the system is not on the level.
That's my point.
I hate that.
That's my
point. It's depressing.
Right.
Good morning.
Right, let's hand it over to...
Yeah, you talk about bringing the show to a crashing halt. That's unbelievable. Heather, now lift us up with some good news.
Yes, exactly. Good morning, Tucker. Great to see you back here. How you been? All right, good morning to all of you. We'll start out with some big election news that happened overnight. Senator John McCain and Sheriff Joe Arpaio claiming primary victories in the state of Arizona. And then in Florida, this is a race we talked about a lot. Senator Marco Rubio winning his primary contest, and Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz